Welcome everyone to Clutch Chess Champion Showdown, where we have 4 of the best players in the world fighting against each other. On your screen is the world champion Domaraju Gukesh, and he will be taking on world number 1 Magnus Carlsen, world number 2 Hikaru Nakamura, and world number 3 Fabiano Caruana. What a tournament this promises to be. Gukesh is the slight underdog here, as the time control is 10 minutes plus 5 seconds increment, rapid time format, and that has been the forte of the other 3 players, while Gukesh, of course, very strong at classical chess. Will he manage to perform here in this time control? He has things going his way right now. He did really well at the European Club Cup, where he managed to finish with the gold medal for his team Super Chess, and also an individual gold on board number 1. Gukesh adjusts all his pieces, gets into the groove, a bit of meditation before the game, just to get into the right mindset. And in the first round itself, he's facing Magnus Carlsen. Now, the format of this tournament, Clutch Chess, is very interesting. There you have Magnus coming in, his first over-the-board tournament after becoming a dad. Handshake, he sits down there. For every win on day 1, you get 1 point. For every win on day 2, you get 2 points. And for every win on day 3, you get 3 points. That's what makes this format so exciting and interesting. Players are going to play 2 games against the same opponent, which means 6 games per player on each day, and total of 18 games. That's really grueling format, and I think the one who plays the best will emerge victorious here. There are no easy way out in this tournament. The players are ready, handshake, and we are ready to rock and roll. Gukesh opens the game with 1 e4 and Magnus responds with d6. Pawn to d4 played, and knight comes out to f6. Magnus going for the Perk or Philidor. He goes for the Philidor system here. Gukesh does not even think about this endgame with d and taking the queen. Goes knight f3, knight to d7. The bishop comes out to c4. Bishop e7 played, and white simply castles here. Black also castles, and now how should white continue? He goes a4, gaining space on the queen side. It's very standard stuff. In the Philidor, c6 played here, just to make a square for the queen on c7, also controlling important squares. Rook comes to e1, overprotecting the e4 square, and h6, a useful move, stopping bishop g5, knight g5 in the position. h3 by Gukesh, which is also very useful, taking into control the g4 square. Rook comes to e8. Now the knight could swivel to g6, or the bishop could drop back to f8, and Gukesh goes bishop e3, and now you can see knight g4 is no longer possible as the pawn has come to h3. Magnus takes on d4, tries to simplify the position. You can take with knight, queen, or the bishop. All moves make pretty much good sense. Gukesh takes with the bishop, and now Magnus drops his bishop back to f8, opening up the rook and the knight to bear down on the e4 pawn. Knight comes to d2, a slightly passive move, you can say, but this knight can be very useful on the c4 square after the bishop moves away. Knight to e5, attacking the bishop, and Gukesh comes back, bishop f1. His dream is to play f4 and knight to c4. But generally in such positions, Magnus is really good. Knight g6, he understands when to take the d5 break, when not to do it. a5, Gukesh gains space on the queen side, clamping down these pawns. Bishop comes out to e6. And now, is it time to create something? You can't push f4 just yet. The knight is protecting that square. So g3, a very nice move to put the bishop on g2 to play f4 in the position. But Magnus breaks in the center with d5. For Gukesh, e5 won't be that great because of c5, and that's the reason why he plays bishop to g2, overprotecting the e4 square and also putting pressure on the d5 square. Magnus comes out with bishop b4. Now Gukesh can take on f6 and take on d5, but that would give black some counterplay. So he plays a6. Magnus chops off the pawn. This does weaken the structure a bit. Pawn takes pawn taken, and Magnus has 7 minutes 13 seconds. Gukesh has 5 minutes on the clock. After a good 1 minute of think, Magnus takes on d5. Knight takes d5. The bishop takes the knight. And now we have a very even position that's come on the board. Queen e8. But it does feel like Gukesh is slightly better, because after bishop takes d5, pawn takes d5, the a6 pawn is a bit weak. So pawn to c3, the bishop drops back to f8. And now rook takes a6 taken. So white has a clearly nice position. d5 is weak, a7 is weak, but what is weak in for white is the king. The king on g1 is a bit weak, and also the b2 pawn. So Gukesh goes back, defends the pawn here on b2, a5 played. And now the queen comes to a4. The queen is offered for trade, but Magnus shouldn't trade queens, because a queen trade would mean white has a risk-free advantage. So he goes queen d3. He comes in, he puts pressure on the knight. b4 would mean maybe bishop b4, c4, d4 is hanging. So knight f1, a good move by Gukesh. He puts the knight closer to the white king, defending the g3 point, ready to come to e3. And Magnus now has 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 23 seconds. What a move by Magnus. Rook a6. He wants to swing his rook over to e6, then to e1. Pawn to b4 played. Rook swings over to e6. Well, Gukesh can actually now win a pawn on a5. He goes rook d2, stopping the queen from coming into the position. Queen f5, you go back, h3 is hanging. Do you protect h3? Do you take the pawn on a5? That's the big question. He takes on a5. Gukesh with 1 minute 12 seconds. Magnus takes on h3. Now queen d1, very important move to come back to stop rook e1. And Gukesh is actually better here, because his a pawn is very, very strong. But he pushes, and that's a mistake, because now rook e1. And although Gukesh's pawn is just 2 steps away from queening, his king is in big trouble. Magnus, who has 1 minute 29 seconds now, tries to think deep. Now he's ready with his move. He goes rook e1. And the only move Gukesh has is queen b5, defending here. And now there is an insane move that Magnus has. Oh, he finds it. What a move. If queen c5, f1 is hanging. If bishop c5, knight jumps in here. What a find by Magnus. Insane move. The only move is queen d3. Will Gukesh find it? Gukesh finds it. Oh my goodness. It's actually brilliant fight between two players. Matching move for move. Magnus now unsure what to do. He takes on d4. Pawn takes d4. He goes after the a pawn. Now very important position. Maybe queen can drop back to e2. He blunders with rook d1. Knight h4 is a winning move here. But Magnus hasn't spotted it. There's a mate here, and if you take, I go queen g4 check, winning the rook on d1. But he goes knight f4 the other direction. Gukesh has 14 seconds to work it out. If gf4, queen g4, the same threat. But there is a defense here. But Gukesh, time is running out. He can't find a move, and he resigns there. Magnus wins. What a victory there. Magnus is completely thrilled at that one. But in the last position, Gukesh had an insane defense. Let's have a look at that defense, which would have given him a draw at the very least. It was very, very difficult to find that one. In this position, Magnus would have won the game if he had played the move knight h4. There's a mate here, and if gh4, queen g4 check, and the game is over. However, Magnus played knight f4, which looked like a very, very strong move. The same point, if gf4, queen g4, winning the rook here is just fatal. But here's the defense. an insane defense. Knight to e3, stopping the mate here. You might think that just winning the queen is good enough, but not really. After rook takes a1, I'm threatening to queen here. You have to rush back, queen c8, and now after knight d5, this is very dangerous with a7 coming, knight jumping into e7, knight e7 check, and Magnus has to be really careful. I think the best he can do is try for a draw after knight c7, queen f3, a7, and now in this position there is a perpetual and the game is drawn. Sorry, king h2 here and queen f2, king h1, and it is drawn position. But instead Gukesh couldn't find a move after the move knight e4 f4 was played, and he actually lost on time, but he also kind of resigned the position. So very interesting end to the game.